Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is basic happier man principles. Well, I think that the main principles is you have to think for yourself, and you have to spend plenty of time on the thinking and figuring out what it is that makes you happy and what it is in your life that's probably really wrong, and you're going to have to do something about it. That's kind of that's the beginning step of my 3-step system, right? Is 1, get your mind right. 2, take action. 3, rest, heal, recharge, and grow. So that's, the first principle is the thinking step, where you spend as much time as necessary getting your mind right, and getting your mind right involves thinking, right? You can't just not think and expect that your mind is going to get right. You can't really turn on the TV and sit there for hours and think your mind is going to be right. You can't be scrolling various social media sites, internet sites, looking at your phone and think that your mind is going to get right. You should probably be aware by now that the more time you spend doing that, the less your mind is going to be right. You're being, even if what you're seeing on TV or on your phone or the internet, your computer, is what you agree with, like in concept, it's still going to be hurting you. It's still telling that is still telling you what to think, and what to and based on what to think, what your action should be. And yeah, I'm finding myself doing that too, and it's very, very detrimental to be spending more than a few minutes here and there on your social media sites, on watching TV, watching the news, because it's somebody else telling you how to think, and then from what to think, how to act. And I just don't think that's going to be healthy for you, for me, for anyone in the long term. What you want to do is get your mind right and spend plenty of time, the bulk of your time, just you thinking with a piece of paper and a pen, or put it on the computer, and then from those actions, from that mind, getting your mind right, the actions will start to become clear what they should be. For example, when I decided to leave my wife, it took, let's say, a couple of years of me working on this first step, this mindset work, which was doing research, active research on the effects of verbal abuse on men. Is there a chance that this verbally abusive person in my life, in that case it was my wife, would there be some way that she might stop doing that to me, and that I have a hope of a good life again? Doing that kind of research, writing all that down. From that writing of the research down, I started making lists of how I wanted my life to be, right? What kind of wife, what would the interaction be with my wife if it was good? How did I want my day-to-day life to be? What kind of stuff did I want to do? I had extensive lists of what it would take to make me happy. And kind of the overriding theme of all these lists were my wife would be nice to me. And then after, and continually referring to this list, I had like a little pad of paper, very small, that I could carry with me all the time, never showing her, But I had it, and I could refer to that, and I could keep reading that and rereading it. I'd be sitting on the toilet, I would be reading that, not a newspaper, right? When I had minutes, if I'm stopped at a stoplight in the car on the way to work, I'd pull that out and read it, so that kind of thing and that saved me, because I was reinforcing that this is the kind of life I need to make me happy. Harmonious, peaceful, no verbal abuse, no criticisms, no raging at me. And from that continual mindset work, and this was daily, I was doing this daily in my free time. I had a full-time job, I had a wife and a kid, so I had a lot of things going on. So there was just minutes here and there that I could do this mindset work. But then eventually, the time it became apparent that I had to leave. I detail that in the book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with the 3-step system, available on the allhappierman.com website. I detail the day of my leaving, and the day of my leaving was just a tremendously dramatic, horrible day and time, but it was like the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. This final event that pushed me over the edge. And of course, since I knew that I probably would have to leave eventually, I had a little bit of plans made. Not much. There's no way to prepare for this kind of stuff in totality. Hopefully by you listening to this, you'll have more time to prepare if you're going to leave your wife. But it was that the action became, I didn't have to question what the action was. I knew what the action was because of all that mindset work. The action was to leave her. It was just a question of when and how. The action was known. So if you do enough of this mindset work, of this thinking, planning work that's critical to your happier man life, the action will become crystal clear. You won't have to figure out what the action is or ask somebody. You'll know what it is. You'll know what the action is. Okay? So that's why you want to spend as much time as you possibly can in this thinking phase, so you don't have to wonder what to do. You just know what to do. Okay? So that's maybe the biggest thing is that mind work. And then once you've figured out what that step is, and then I'll take a lesser example. I was in a very good job a couple of years ago, but I left that job to do something else. I was courted by this company, and it sounded like it would be this great opportunity, and so I left that great job, went to this what I thought would be a better job for more money and a different type of a thing. And it started, I don't want to say it started going bad immediately, but within a short amount of time, I found out it just wasn't for me. There was many different aspects of it that just weren't right for me. So the mindset work was figuring out, can I make this work or not? And I determined that I could not. And so the action became clear that I needed to get a different job. And so I started back on that path of, all the work involved in getting a different job. And you get to be an older person with a specialty, it becomes difficult because you're not really a generalist anymore, and you got higher pay, and you're older, and it's harder to get a good job and the older you get, from what I've seen. depending on the economic conditions and all of that. So that was, let's say, two big examples of me using this mindset work, mind work, to get to know what the action is. And then once you've taken the action, and sometimes there's going to be massive action required for you to get that desired result that you figured out in the mindset work. Like getting this job, this was like an enormously time consuming part-time job to get the job that I'm in now. Right? I just didn't pick up the phone and call them and say, when can I start? It was a massive effort to go through tremendous amounts of resumes and building cover letters, going on interviews, getting prepped, and it took a long time for the exact right job to kind of fall into place. Massive effort. Massive. But it was my life, right? My life is worth massive effort. Watching TV all night, that isn't massive effort, but it takes massive time. If you want to make a change for the better, I would turn off the TV and for the next couple of years until you've got a little bit farther along on what you're trying to accomplish. I might put down the phone, pick it up once a week or so, and for a little entertainment. Massive effort is necessary. So, but that's the second step, the effort step. What about my third step? The third step is to rest, heal, recharge, and grow. Well, I like to talk about this because I think a lot of men, they don't spend any time on this part. I know when I was married, I really didn't ever rest, recharge, and heal. I was always kind of under the gun. I was working kind of a really stressful job, working 50, 60 hours a week, trying to keep food on the table. I'd come home from work and I wouldn't sit around with my feet up. I'd be, working around the house and doing all kinds of, trying to pick up the pieces from the things my wife was, she was kind of getting into a lot of mischief, and doing stuff that didn't need to be done that I'd have to pick up the pieces for. You'll find that your wife that's verbally abusive, she's probably going to be enormously high maintenance. So the wife that's screaming and yelling at you at all your faults, she's probably going to be keeping you busy with all kinds of stuff that you don't really want to do, and it isn't good for you or your family. You're going to be wasting a lot of money that you could be used to make your children's lives better and your life better and even in her life better. But so anyway, I like to talk about the resting because you need the rest if you've gone through an enormous ordeal. Like leaving your wife will be an enormous ordeal. I basically had to rest for months after this ordeal. I did I kind of took it easy for a long time afterwards. I slept a lot more. Like I said, she was a high maintenance wife, so that means you're working around the house at a lot, So I don't know that I slept 8 hours a night for more than one night a week for 10 or 15 years. You know what I mean? I was just exhausted from this. So I was sleeping, I was napping, I still had to deal with the normal divorce stuff, and that would be stressful and take effort. But the bulk of the work was the actual just deciding to leave. So I needed to heal, and this was a trauma-filled time that truthfully, I'm still kind of trying to heal from this, because the memories, it's kind of like the nightmares come and go about the things that happen in a bad marriage. And I don't want to get overly dramatic on it, but it can be, some of you guys are going to have a very hard time getting past the issues in your marriage, the things your wife says to you, the things she does to you. It's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be pretty tough. So if you want a chance to have some good life, you're going to have to leave her. Get the book. It'll save your life. But I would encourage you to find ways to rest and relax and recharge and heal as much as you can. I always found it refreshing to talk to other men when I was married. They would be doing this stuff like on the weekends, and I was just like astounded that their wives would let them do all this stuff. And I knew that my life was just like total garbage compared to their lives, so they were actually enjoying themselves. They actually had a good life, and they were married. So being married isn't a death sentence. You may have a great woman. It may be working out very well for you. This is for the guys that don't have that, because all men deserve a great life. And if you're with a bad woman, it's not possible. It's not possible to have a good life. So get the book, Leave Your Wife, Become a Happier Man with a 3-step system. Check it out. I've got a long article on the website, ahappierman.com, that explains, kind of more about what the book is about. See if it applies to you by reading that article. And and truthfully, if you've done all this mind work, if you've taken action, you deserve to rest and heal and recharge and grow from it. I like to talk about weightlifting a lot because it's a good analogy for life. Weight training, it beats your body down. You can't just weight train all day long. You go in, you work out for an hour or two, very hard. You beat yourself up. You need to rest and heal afterwards. Until you got to rest and heal long enough and recharge yourself enough, so when you go back to the gym the next time, you can do a little better. Well, if you don't rest and heal, it's all a waste of time. You're just going to beat yourself up into injury and sickness and illness and overtraining. You'll go backwards. So it's like, well, if you work hard at your job, you don't work 24 hours a day, do you? You work at a normal amount of hours in a day, and then you need other time to rest from it. And that's what I'm getting at. Let's say you have the normal 40-hour week and it's very intense. You need that off time to rest. You can't work 8 hours a day and then go home and then work another 8 hours around the house for your wife. That won't work. Maybe you can work an hour or two, maybe one day a week you can work an extra 8 hours. But can you work an extra 8 hours a day every day? No. You got to rest, heal, recharge, and grow. So give those ideas some thought. I think that will really, if you give that idea some thought, spend a lot of time thinking about your life and how you want it to be, and what's wrong with it, and what should be right in it. All for now.